Good morning. I am the Reverend Jen Raffensperger. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am honored to serve as the minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Roanoke. Welcome to you all this morning. Big thank you to our volunteer musicians, our first week without our beloved Carrie. Wonderful. Thank you, Dennis, Matt, Lowell, Cynthia, and all our Sunday singers. I want to be clear. We started doing some safety announcements and just some organizational announcements at the start of worship because we're growing and it's getting crowded and we want people to know that there are more seats over here and that there are places to get out. And now that the doors are open, there are other exits available so that in the unlikely event there's something that goes on. We know that recent events make things feel challenging in our world, and it's hard to feel safe anywhere. And although we know that 100% safety simply is not possible, we do want to remind one another we're a community that looks out for each other. And I was doing the airline thing, and it's funny, but I also was like, I don't want to be mocking the safety announcement, right? So that was just me kind of going, look, this is a new thing, so I'm making it less awkward. But I don't want anyone for a second to think that I'm trying to make light of our safety or our ability to keep one another safe. So thank you. Our opening words, and we're going to talk a lot about safety and finding safe places today. So our opening words this morning are Trust the People by Adrienne Marie Brown. Trust the people who move towards you and already feel like home. Trust the people to let you rest. Trust the people to do everything better than you could have imagined. Trust the people and they become trustworthy. Trust that the people are doing their work to trust themselves. Trust that each breach of trust can deepen trust or clarify boundaries. Trust the people who revel in pleasure after hard work. Trust the people who let children teach and remind us how to emote, be still, and laugh. Trust the people who see and hold your heart. Trust the people who listen to the wails. Trust the people, and you will become trustworthy. Trust the people and show them your love. Trust the people. I now invite Jill to light our chalice as we join with Unitarian Universalist churches, congregations, and communities around the nation and the world in lighting the flame of our living tradition of faith as a beacon for hope.
Hello, my name is Jessie McEwen. I use they, them pronouns, and I have a story for anyone who wants to come up and hear a story. Don't worry, I have a microphone if you don't want to come up, but I also have some questions, because there's a word that is used a whole lot, but not all. Oh, is it backwards day? I totally forgot. So, does anyone know what the word oasis means? Okay, some of you might think it's a band. It is a band. A what? It's an orange soda in France. Has anyone heard the word oasis before? I've heard it before. I hope you've heard it before. It's also a song, Midnight at the Oasis, and the first lyrics are Midnight at the Oasis, send your camel to bed. it has something to do with water. So when we're traveling through the desert on camels, sometimes we encounter something that shouldn't be in the desert, maybe. It is palm trees and water. When you think desert, do you think of palm trees and water? No. The water's usually fresh and drinkable. And if it's not fresh and drinkable, it's easy to make that way. Some people build their homes in this place. That is an oasis. When you're traveling far, 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 and you find this thing. Now, I want to tell you guys about a different kind of oasis. It had a neon sign that said, "The Oasis." And I was with my family when I was about Emma's age. We were driving across Texas. Now, it takes as long to get across the state of Texas as it does to get from here to Texas. Long time. Lots of driving. We'd gotten a flat tire, not once, but twice. And when you got a flat tire back in the day, there wasn't always a place you could go. There wasn't people you could call. You had to change it. It's not like getting one in the city. There was nobody. So we all had to pile out of the car and stand on the side of the road. And if you've ever had middle schoolers standing on the side of the road, you don't want to do it again. We tried to help because it was just us and our mom. We tried really hard to help. We weren't super helpful, but we did our best. And then we got back in the car. Oh, we had a ton of stuff in the car too, because my mom's friend's Aunt Willie had a bunch of things that she left at her house. So we were helping get them to Aunt Willie. So we had to get some of Aunt Willie's stuff out of the car and stand on the side of the road in the dark with all this stuff. And then Mom finally said, "We're going to find a hotel to spend the night. We've got to find a place to stop." It was long. It was hot. We didn't have air conditioner in the car, and it was August in Texas. And it was real hot. We were sweaty. We were stinky. We were mad at each other just because we kept touching each other. And when our sibling touches us when we don't want to be touched, it's easy to get mad at them, right? You don't have to glare at your siblings. We all know. So we finally stopped at a place called The Oasis. And it had this big neon sign and hotel rooms, and it had a little store where we could buy candy. It also had a restaurant where we could eat tacos. It had all kinds of things at this. It had a pool, and we just got in with our clothes on because we were the only ones there. The word the oasis to me meant relief and safety. Because you know what we weren't doing was spending the night in the car. We were in a hotel room. It didn't matter that Aunt Willie's stuff was still outside because we didn't have to deal with Aunt Willie's stuff anymore because we were in the hotel. They even had cable TV. And it was so much fun to stay at the Oasis. Later, when I was an adult, I made that drive looking for good barbecue too. And when we were driving, we never found the Oasis again. Same road. We thought we every time. And the road was straight. It's not like we were going around a curve looking for the road. We never found the Oasis again. But for that night, when I was in middle school, it was perfect. We are going to go upstairs and we are going to make a plan for how we can be an oasis here. How we can be safety, how we can be comfort, how we can be a pool that you can jump into with your clothes on. Capital campaign, we're building a pool. Y'all ready to make some plans? Let's do it.
Our reading this morning is an excerpt from What It Takes to Heal, How Transforming Ourselves Can Change the World by Prentice Hemphill. Visions are a call, a conjuring, a glimpse into what can be, but as my grandmother would often say, quoting scripture, faith without works is dead. We name our visions. We say them out loud to bring them into being, and we move them forward toward fruition by staying the course. Commitment is the path between your vision and this moment. It is the day-to-day building, practice, and intention that transport you forward to that changed place, whether it's internal or external to you. When Harriet Tubman first escaped the plantation in Maryland, she left with her brothers. Scared, they turned around soon after, and she was alone, but committed. She found the North Star in the sky, and she followed it through forests and swamps, freezing temperatures and hunger, to a new and more free life. On later journeys, close calls and the danger of the unknown made some try to turn back, but she insisted that they stay the course. Her dedication is almost hard to fathom, but she never lost a passenger on her train because of her commitment. At times, she dealt with harsh conditions, narrow escapes, but there's something about the unanticipated that allows commitment to activate. When we set out with a vision, it crashes into backlash, barriers, fear. Commitment is what gets us through the middle of change. When the outcome seems bleak, when it seems we're lost or can't go any further. Commitment expects our despair but doesn't waver. It comes from inside of us, keeping steady when we lose hope or give up or decide to step away. What lives inside us does not go anywhere but waits so we can return to it. Commitment to the North Star, our vision, brings us through. To what and to whom are you committed? What do you long for? And what is worth traveling through the unknown to reach?
I have another little story for you this morning, and I'm very glad that Jesse introduced the ideas of multiple definitions for the word oasis. Once upon a time, a group of weary travelers were on a ship on the high seas when a storm arose. There were some disagreements about the exact nature of the storm, one traveler exclaiming over the weather forecaster's failure, and another fearing they hadn't said the proper prayers for safety at the start of their voyage, but ultimately, that made no difference. The storm came for that ship and others besides, traveling those same waters. This storm was so large and so violent that the ships were severely damaged, some of them, and a number of the weary travelers were thrown into the ocean with or without something to hang on to. Each traveler who was able to cling to a life preserver or a smaller boat or anything else to keep them afloat prayed in their own way. Sometimes that prayer was to God. Sometimes it was to the weather patterns. Sometimes it was to the memory of a beloved ancestor who also went through hard times. Sometimes it was simply an unaddressed utterance. Please, 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 let me come through this okay. Eventually, a small subset of those weary travelers washed up on the shore of a beautiful island. The sun was shining, the sand was warm and soft and free of sharp rocks and pieces of shells, and the lush vegetation that they spied when they looked up the shore caused hope to kindle within their hearts for the first time since that storm appeared on the horizon. When the travelers first arrived, all they wanted to do was rest, which was completely understandable. Many of them napped right there on the beach, still in their wet clothes, still clutching whatever floating piece of safety had allowed them to reach the shore. Some of them were alert enough to mourn for those of their fellow travelers they had to assume might not have made it through the storm. Unbeknownst, at first, to the weary travelers, there were others on the island who spotted them when they arrived. The people living on the island felt their hearts swell both with sadness and with joy. You see, most of the people who already lived on the island had washed up on that gentle shore themselves, either a long or a short time ago. Because of the placement of the island and the prevailing wind patterns, this happened pretty regularly. Ships came and went, but often there were weary travelers who washed up here. They needed rest, they needed healing, and they needed nourishment. Some people who lived on the island had the job of approaching travelers who washed up on the shore. It was an important job that took a gentle touch, because often these travelers were hurt by their violent voyage and the time that they were tossed upon the waves. Some of them had obvious physical injuries, but even more hid their injuries on the inside. After giving the new arrivals, a little bit of time to rest and gain some sense of their new situation, those tasked with welcoming the newcomers came out of the lush growth of the island and started to check in with every person on the beach. Everyone had different needs, and the island residents did their best to meet them. The most important thing was to get them off the beach. The first place that the weary travelers saw wasn't the entire picture of the island. The beach was beautiful, but of course, it was still subject to the storms that trade winds brought to this part of the ocean. Inland, the welcoming island residents assured the newcomers, things were even better. There was good food, and there were dry places to sleep. And most importantly, there was a community of people not so different from them, many of whom had even arrived at the island the same way, and they'd worked hard to learn how to keep each other safe. Now, no matter how much this island looked like paradise at first glance, of course, no place was ever 100% safe. No community was ever 100% conflict-free or stress-free. The world was still the world. But the reassurance of the ground beneath their feet, the bright sky overhead, the clean and flowing water, and the warm fires for cooking all signaled to the survivors that here were people who appreciated all the good gifts that the earth gave them. Here were people of gratitude, thoughtfulness, and hope. This is not the end of the story, but we're going to step away from the metaphor for a moment and into reality. So I'm interested in the sense of a few numbers. Now, I'd like to ask you to raise your hand for a description that sounds like you, and if you're not comfortable raising your hand, that is absolutely fine. But do please consider these timelines that I am presenting. How many of us here today were born and raised Unitarian Universalist? Yeah. 4 that I count. 4 who are willing to raise their hands, right? Okay. How many of us here today have been Unitarian Universalists for more than half of our lives? A few more hands. How many of us here today have been Unitarian Universalists for less than a decade? And again, look, don't feel called out, but how many of us are here attending a Unitarian Universalist service for the first time today? Do we have a couple first-timers? Thank you. Thanks for being here. Don't make them feel embarrassed, everyone. Talk to them later. And okay, seriously, I will not take this personally. Please answer if you feel this describes you. How many of us here today enjoy coming to UU churches but have never particularly considered Unitarian Universalists to be a part of our identity? It is fine, I will not hold it against you. Because people have a lot of identities, right? And there's people who are new enough that they're like, I don't know, it's too soon, I can't tell yet. Fair, right? And some people decide right away. Is Bonnie Nelson here? Bonnie, I didn't see you. Can I hold you up as an example? Bonnie signed the membership book, 2 weeks ago? Bonnie has been coming to this congregation for 20, 30 something years. Okay, 10. Still, I thought it was longer than that. We have people who go, you know what? Whatever, after any amount of time, you know what? That's it. I'm willing to make this part of what I call myself and how I think of myself. Thank you for participating in that little experiment, and thank you extra, Bonnie, for letting me pick you out. So the metaphor in the story that I started with, of course, is intended to describe how many, but not all of us, arrive at Unitarian Universalism. Many people find this faith tradition as adults, sometimes after having been raised in a different faith tradition that left them scarred or bruised. Those are the storm-tossed seas in our story. And Unitarian Universalism is the beautiful island oasis and place of safety. But of course, there's more to the story than that. Trust the people who move towards you and already feel like home. Trust the people to let you rest. Trust the people to do everything better than you could have imagined. Trust the people and they become trustworthy. Trust that the people are doing their work to trust themselves. Trust that each breach of trust can deepen trust or clarify boundaries. Trust the people who revel in pleasure after hard work. Trust the people who let children teach and remind us how to emote, how to be still, how to laugh. Trust the people who see and hold your heart. Trust the people who listen to the wails. Trust the people and you will become trustworthy. Trust the people and show them your love. Trust the people. So our opening words that I just shared with you again, they come to us from poet, activist, and educator Adrienne Marie Brown, and the context in which she wrote this spell. Now, she calls it a spell, not a poem. The context in which she wrote this spell was following a leadership training that she held in New Orleans on her wonderful organizational model called Emergent Strategy. The spell is clear. Trust and becoming trustworthy grow together. Followers who do not trust their leaders will either leave or be threatened with harm enough that they stay, but with a relationship that is broken. Leaders who do not trust their followers will either abdicate their responsibility or lock them down with such a controlling hand that the followers are not followers at all, they are prisoners. In any organization with any hierarchy or no hierarchy at all, trust is vital both to the surviving and thriving of that organization. Visions are a call, a conjuring, a glimpse into what can be. But as my grandmother would often say, quoting scripture, faith without works is dead. We name our visions, we say them out loud to bring them into being, and we move them toward fruition by staying the course. The beautiful story that I told is true, and there are also other truths that reside within communities of faith, striving towards ideals and so often falling short of the mark. And to be clear, we fall short of the mark because we're human and that's what humans do. Even with the best and most lofty ideals, safety and nourishment and belonging for all, We will not always be able to attain them, no matter how hard we try. And these days, doesn't it feel like some people aren't even trying? Yeah, I know. And we don't know what storms those folks have been through either. But that is not a reason to abandon our ideals or our faith. It is a reason to renew our commitment to them. Commitment is the path between your vision and this moment. It is the day-to-day building, practice, and intention that transport you forward to that changed place, whether it's internal or external to you. So our reading today, thank you, Jill, comes from Prentice Hemphill's What It Takes to Heal, How Transforming Ourselves Can Change the World. And for me, this was one of those books that really challenged me, but also drew me into imagining what healing can really look like in this world, for each of us individually and for all of us collectively. It took me a very long time to read. It took me almost a year to read this book, and I'm a pretty fast reader, y'all. Because every couple of pages, I needed to stop, to put it down, and simply be with what I had read. Sometimes I would be crying, sometimes I would be angry, sometimes I would need to reach for my own pen or keyboard to capture the ideas that the book was inspiring within me. I started with a story because sometimes we need to think about things from another angle. If I called this sermon, Growing More Resilient UU Communities, a Strategy for Retention, Inspiration, and Growth, click, I bet it would be a little bit less appealing to you. Or maybe not, I don't know. Maybe you want a PowerPoint. You're not going to get one from me. Sorry. Titles are not really my strong suit. I already talked about how the fact that, like, I say oasis, and I don't mean that thing that's in the desert, but it can also any place of safety after a hard time, right? That title isn't appealing to me. But by talking about our faith community here, by talking about the idea of claiming faith in these times, when that language has been so damaged by those who do not have safety, nourishment, and belonging for all at the front of their mind, directing their actions, I hope to inspire you to consider your own commitment both to Unitarian Universalism and to the world that it dares us to dream of. Commitment is what gets us through the middle of change, when the outcome seems bleak, when it seems we're lost or can't go any further. Commitment expects our despair, but doesn't waver. It comes from inside of us, keeping steady when we lose hope or give up or decide to step away. What lives inside us does not go anywhere, but waits so we can return to it. Commitment to the North Star, our vision, brings us through. To what and to whom are you committed? What do you long for? And what is worth traveling through the unknown to reach? Commitment expects our despair. When I selected the topic and even the text for today's service, I didn't realize exactly what a week of despair we would be arriving here from. The truth is that each week, any of us could be carrying an extra burden in addition to our known and shared burdens, and we move forward on faith to gather here to examine that which is of highest worth together in the hope that it will bear a needed message to someone, to anyone who might hear it. On Thursday of this past week, the 24th anniversary of the shocking and sorrowful attacks of September 11th, 2001, a number of my UU ministerial colleagues were sharing their stories online. Some of them were just starting new ministries when the attacks happened. They are at the beginning of the congregational year, right? Some of the people sharing weren't ministers at the time and maybe had felt previously at a remove from their UU faith and community. It wasn't part of their identity yet. But the frightening nature of the world that week sent them there ready to seek more than they had before. And some of them chose the Sunday after the attacks or a vigil held that very night to attend a UU worship service for the very first time. For myself, on September 11th, 2001, I was an atheist and had no faith community. I sought and received the comfort of my community of friends and family and chosen family, but a part of me wishes that me then had known about Unitarian Universalism at that time, that it was possible for me to take my scared, uncertain atheist self to a church and feel welcomed, loved, and whole. Not perfectly, never perfectly. Please lose the word perfect from your minds, my friends, unless you're describing a sunrise or a dessert. This week, every week, presents us with so many openings for despair, openings to a sense of separation. At the same time, every week, every day presents us with opportunities for comfort, for connection, for celebration, and for joy. It is hard to hold all those things, and it is also the very definition of the human condition. So bring them here. Set them down or lift them up, but bring them here. Whether you are brand new or a lifelong UU, you are not only welcome, you are needed. Those stories just prove that when times are hard, people seek our communities. And if times aren't hard right now, I'm not sure when they are. Right? It's up to each of you to decide what you might want your role to be on this lovely island. Not all of you will stay, and that's okay. It really is. But if you do stay, I wonder what gifts you're going to bring to this community. If you do stay, what spiritual practices will you adopt or adapt to help you stay centered and grounded during weeks like all of the weeks lately? Your faith, this island, is more than Sunday morning church. This is the beach, friends. But eventually, when your healing begins, you will find there is more work to do in the interior. No one is monitoring how long you're hanging out on the beach. All right? Take the time you need to heal. Listen to your heart and ask the questions. And not just of yourself, but also of others who've decided to hang out here. To what and to whom are you committed? What do you long for? And what is worth traveling through the unknown to reach? What brought you here? What keeps you here? To what do you give your heart, and where do you direct your longing? Start by asking someone today, someone you don't know, if you can stay for coffee hour, ask somebody why they're here or why they stay. Share your stories of this place. Share your hopes and your dreams. Yes, even share your disappointments, knowing that if we do not understand the places where we fall short of the mark, we're going to keep doing it again and again. When I make a mistake, it's easy to run away from it. But the work is to stay with it and figure out where it came from, right? Most of all, please, right now, share your joy. We all need it. Now more than ever, now and always. So may it be. We come to that time in our service where each week where we invite you into generosity. The work of this congregation of keeping this island tidy and welcoming to all takes the time and talent and treasure of so many of us. The ushers will now gratefully collect the offering. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Terry Smith to represent the Caring Committee and present our latest collection of joys and concerns among our friends and members, what we call lifelines. First, I want to share the good news from Chaz. Pleased to share that after losing his job he'd had for years, he was told of an opportunity by a friend and has now completed his third, or maybe it's fourth, week in a new and better position. Good for you, Chaz. Another joy, Laura J. Weatherford Burns shares her joy that after 8 long years, she is finally legally divorced and her name is finally legally changed as well. This one clearly is not a joy. You may know Leah Whitney is recuperating after a successful repair of a fractured hip. She's focused on rest and rehab, so cards are welcome, but she asks that everyone hold off on calls and visits at this time. Correction to our previous news, Greta McVeigh's brain surgery is this Wednesday, September 17th. She should be home and beginning her recovery by Monday, September 22nd. So may it be. Thank you to everyone who sent her and Cindy good wishes. And it's nice to have family here with Cindy today. Betsy Biesenbach is recuperating at home after her knee replacement surgery last Tuesday. She and Carl appreciate the meals provided so far, and cards and calls and visits are helping Betsy keep on the sunny side. And now, a message from our sponsor, the Caring Committee. As you can imagine, we're in another period where lots of people need meal support. You don't have to be on our committee, but if you're willing to handle a meal or two, I mean, you can even go buy prepared food, and that's all right. You don't have to cook it, you can buy it. We would be grateful for the support. We use Sign Up Genius, and there are 3 special appeals out now. So one of the group can tell you how to connect with that, or contact Sally Garber or any other committee member to help out. And just hope that the time doesn't come when you have to receive a casserole. Although there are good reasons for that too. And now, for whatever reason you may want to keep something in your heart, but express to the community a joy or concern, we invite you to come up and light a candle. We'll have 2 sides of the altar available. And Jill would be happy to stand up. Oh,
Me and you, Karen.
sorry.
This is what we-
I have shortchanged the minister. May I
It's all
call?
good. You can go, whichever side's cool. It's cool. It's fine. Terry, or do you say don't you usually say a little final thing? Because I have more to say, so.
I thought you did. I was yielding the floor again. That's, that's even better. Thank you, one and all, for your sharing, silent or otherwise. May your hearts be restored and your spirits lifted.
Thank you, Terry, for presenting those spoken aloud and inviting those to share the sorrows on your heart. It's one of those weeks, y'all. If anybody noticed, I don't tend to do this, but I was getting out my phone for good reason, because a friend of mine who is a UU minister and a poet shared a little something this week that I would like to share. If we could just make the smallest dent in all this cruelty without becoming cruel ourselves in the process. It's been a cruel week, everyone. A cruel, challenging week. A week of raised tensions, raised voices. I have personally seen relationships broken on the internet, which I will confess I have done my level best to stay off of, because there is a dialogue occurring in this country that I think part of the problem with is that we do not all need to be a part of it at all times, at the highest volume. I, speaking as me, abhor violence by gun in any form aimed at any person. Aimed at any person, no matter whether I agree with them or not, whether I like them or not, and my God, the children. A Thursday afternoon, there was a shooting at a high school in Colorado at the same time as the other terrible violence that has obsessed our nation this week. As a spiritual practice at my last congregation, I named every week every city that had a mass shooting in the past week. And sometimes those lists were long. So I want to light this candle for a shift in the prioritization in the hearts of those who seek power to refocus on safety, nourishment, and belonging for all. And I light this candle, as I do each week, for all of those who are joining us online. We know you may not be physically present within the sanctuary. We hope that you are healing and doing well at home, and we know that your spirit is with us. If you will now join me in a time for prayer and for reflection and meditation, if you make yourself comfortable in your seat for what that means for you in this moment, if you would like to clasp your hands or lay them on your knees, or if you would like to close your eyes or soften your gaze or lower your head, whatever is comfortable. Spirit of life, how much love can we bring to the cruelty that seems like it is the top note in everything right now? How can we address it within our hearts without becoming cruel ourselves? We never know what another person has been through, is going through. No matter how much we may be angered by someone else loves that person. This takes discipline. It is hard. We will fail at it. But if we don't keep trying, if we don't keep flexing the muscle that allows us to keep the safety and the nourishment and the belonging of all forefront in our minds, and if we do not let that guide our actions, try again. So look to that which is larger than yourself wherever you ground yourself and find comfort. God, the earth, the minds of humans. Whatever gifts you feel you are seeking at this time, look to them for the strength and ground yourself. There's a lot of work to do. So maybe.
And now, as we draw close to the end of our time together in worship this week, we turn our attention from within our own community and their joys and concerns, and we prepare to engage with the world in the week ahead. We'll begin with a few announcements. If you are new to Unitarian Universalism, using that word that I want to try to say, or just new to UUCR and you're interested in learning more about us, please plan to stay after the service today. You and UU is a 1-hour introduction to the history and theology of our beloved community, and it will be held today at 12:30 in the Olin Room, which is down the hall on the first floor. There will be another opportunity to attend this class coming up on Wednesday, October 15th at 6 p.m. Next Sunday, September 21st, we will celebrate the autumnal equinox with our Sunday service, and we will be outdoors, weather permitting. With the assistance of our newly formed Roanoke Valley Pagans group, Rev Jen will invite us to consider the next turn of the wheel of the year. Please plan to bring a camp chair or blanket to make yourself comfortable outside. We will move inside in the event of inclement weather. And now, I would like to invite our current board president, Gordon Malchevsky, to give us a report on the past week's board meeting.
Thank you, Jill, and good morning, everyone. So the board met on September 9th, and some of the things that we discussed, the personnel team, we have some good news. Personnel team has reported that they do have a promising candidate for our music director position. And I'd like to call out Teresa Poole, who's been working extremely hard in getting all the information together and revising our personnel policy, doing some initial interviewing and phone calls. So I'd like to give Teresa a great round of applause. And Susie, yes. Susie Newton, yes, is working with Teresa as well. She's out of town on vacation. The board also discussed some safety concerns that were raised by a member. So as you can see, we are now starting to announce the location of the safety exits. We're also taking the considerations improving the overall church security. And many of those initiatives will be put in place once the capital campaign improvements start to occur. We'll also be working, Bob Egbert is in charge of our safety committee, so we will be holding a fire drill that will take place on Sunday, October 26th. We also have had previous meetings with the Roanoke Fire Department and the Police Department to get some information from them, some recommendations from them on how to improve our overall safety and security. Related to our service auction, which of course is November 8th, the board is once again going to be offering a sumptuous Italian feast on February 21st of next year. So we want to remind you to bid often and bid high at this major fundraiser for our church community. And I will be available in the fellowship hall after the service today if you have any questions or comments. I also want to extend an open invitation to you to attend a board meeting. These are held on the second Tuesday of every month. They're at 6:30 p.m. and they are held in the boardroom. If you are planning on attending, please let me know, and especially if you have an item to be added to the agenda, you will need to let me know that in advance. And also, if you do have some ideas or some specific proposals for the board to consider, we do have proposal forms that you can fill out. And at this time, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge your hardworking board members and also introduce you to our newest board member. So just kind of as a reminder, our current board members, we have our VP of Finance, which is Sheila Barnhart. I don't believe Sheila is here today. Okay. We also have our board clerk, Lynn Yates. And then our members at large include Teresa Poole, who is here. Teresa, if you want to stand up just so folks can recognize you. We also have Leah Whitney, another member at large, but of course, Leah has surgery. And then Susie Newton is away on vacation. So I just said it's a hardworking board, but that does not include Sunday services as being mandatory. I'd also like to introduce our recently elected President-elect Cindy Lawler, who's going to be helping me with a presentation to a former board member who's just left the board. So Cindy, if you would come up, please. So if you would just hang on to that for us. Thank you. So stewardship and volunteerism is critical to the smooth operation of our church and also its vitality. You know, many individuals give their time and talents either as a committee chairperson, a committee member, a board member, or even an individual volunteer who pitches in at the last moment when a critical need arises. And our congregation has a wonderful volunteer ethic with many members serving on multiple committees. This morning, I'd like to recognize and thank former board members Matt Livingston, who has served on the board for 2 terms, has helped with several generosity campaigns, was a pledge volunteer for our capital campaign, and I guess because he's not have enough, he's also doing music, and he is a member currently of the endowment committee. He has given unselfishly of his time and talents, helping the board manage important church affairs and offering well thought out insights during board meetings. He has been a valued member of this congregation. So on my behalf, myself, my board members, Rev Jen, we offer sincere thanks to Matt for his many contributions. As Matt comes up to the podium, please join me in a round of applause as we express our gratitude. So as a token of our appreciation, if you're wondering what's in the box, we're presenting Matt with an original stained glass UU chalice window hanging, and that was produced by Leslie Landy, and there's a possibility Matt will open that up during coffee hour and you can take a look. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Gordon, and I put my name in the order of service because I thought we were doing something together, but you did a great job. But what you didn't do was also, and again, she came up to help, but I would like us to honor Gordon, our current board president, and Cindy, our upcoming. Thank you for your service. Thank you for all that you do. If you are interested in being a part of a cool team like this, hey, just grab somebody and say, what does a board member even do? And then they'll tell you. So at this time, I'll invite Jill to extinguish our chalice as we once again join with Unitarian Universalist churches, congregations, and communities across the nation and the world in extinguishing the physical flame here within the sanctuary, knowing that we keep the flame of our faith within our hearts to strengthen and comfort us throughout the week.
Sorry. Need my cape on. My bad.
Thank you again to everyone volunteering their time, doing anything here, but especially with the gift of music today. It has been beautiful. It has been beautiful to be here with you this morning into afternoon. Thank you for your patience. I had a lot to say today. And I hope that you will find comfort in those words or challenge, and I hope that you will take everything that was a part of these gifts today and cultivate them in your heart this week to comfort you when times are challenging and to give you something to hold on to when those storm-tossed seas get very rough. So may it be. Go in peace. I always feel like I should walk out the door.